Hello, Lucky Dippers. This episode is going to be a little bit different. Well, it's going to be a lot different from any other one.
This is the story of our worst Airbnb experience ever. Welcome to Málaga, Spain. We've definitely had an experience. We've definitely had quite an experience coming in. We should have really known before it happened that there was going to be something wrong. There were a few warning signs. So first of all, the host of the property that we'd booked was a bit abrupt in her communication. Warning sign number 2.
We were told to go that the apartment number was 1A. There was no 1A on the board at all. There was 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 4, no A even, B, 4.
Yeah. And the apartment number ended up to be 3. So we didn't know how to get in. We didn't know which button to press. And when we finally found our way in, it was a different number. Number 3 was that there was an issue with the shower head.
Well, I think the washers had gone. Yeah. So what happened was that the water was just coming straight out of it, out of the actual device that turns it on and off, switches between the two different shower heads.
More importantly, there was an issue with the air conditioning, and we picked that Airbnb specifically because it had air conditioning, which didn't work. One of the other filters that we had ticked on Airbnb is that we wanted there to be some amenities. We don't require that much, but we need some sort of soap, and there was none in the entire apartment. So keep in mind that this was late at night on a Sunday night in a new city. Nothing was open. We did actually try to go to the supermarket and it was closed. And then we saw the cameras. This is the second bedroom, and we found that that's one camera here and one camera over there. Now this is the living room in our apartment. We don't share this one with anybody else, so there's not exactly a common area, but there's one camera right there, and there's another one there. So this is in the master's bedroom, and there's another, I think it's just a motion detector, this one.
I did not even notice the cameras until Nikki pointed them out sometime later.
There were 2 cameras in the bedroom, and 2 of them were in the living room. I immediately contacted the host, who denied that they were cameras at all, and she said that they were motion detectors. Yeah. Do you think they look like just motion detectors? Because the motion detectors that I know about that don't have cameras don't have lenses. That is definitely a camera. And this is the second one. Yeah. That's hardly a camera. Yes?
Yeah, got it. Yeah. And those even showed the glint of the lens.
Yeah. So this is camera 1 in the living room. And this is camera 2, which did have tape when we came in. And to drive the nail even further into the coffin, I actually found the camera that she used. Oh, sorry, I think she said motion sensor. This says it can take pictures in the dark.
It's a breach of trust. That is the thing.
2 of the 4 cameras actually already had tape on them. So that was 1 in the bedroom and 1 in the living room. It's not just a camera too. My security cameras at home can actually record audio too. Despite Rob really being very sleepy and wanting to just go to sleep, he was actually already in bed. I couldn't let it go. I just was not comfortable there. I just didn't care at that point. I just needed to be out for my own peace of mind. So I've been pretty upset about this, and I called Airbnb because I still don't feel comfortable about being here. It just makes me uncomfortable. I feel like someone's watching me. So I then called Airbnb. I will put a link in the description below to the exact page that I went to. You sign into Airbnb, you put in your phone number, and they call you back. At least that's the option that I chose. And they called back within 30 minutes. They've said that they've canceled this whole booking, so we'll get our money back. I was connected to a customer service representative who was very sympathetic. The first thing that they did was to suspend the host's 14 properties, and they removed the listings of all of those off of the Airbnb website, pending further investigation on their part. I was escalated up the chain a few times to hire customer service representatives until I got to the trust and safety department. And then I was told that no surveillance equipment of any kind are allowed under any circumstances in bedrooms and bathrooms. In common areas like the living room, it is possible for a host to put cameras and security equipment there, but only if it's spelled out in the listing of the property, which it wasn't in this case. Also, since this happened at 2 a.m., they let us book 2 hotel nights in Malaga for a total value of up to $250 per night, which was pretty good because the hotel that we ended up booking was pretty amazing.
Yeah, it was.
So I really, really appreciate that because it's like 1:30 in the morning here. So it's kind of hard to find somewhere other than a hotel. Okay. Está bien, es como un suite. Tenemos una sala aquí. Dormitorio es muy grande. Pero estoy tan feliz que ahora no tenemos que vivir en esa casa con cámaras. Terrible, debe ser ilegal.
So for starters, it had a pool, which was nice. There were breakfasts that came with it, free breakfasts, and also a free dinner. Airbnb also canceled our reservation in full, and they gave us 2 choices. Either we could just get our money back and use it on a hotel or something like that, or if we chose to rebook with Airbnb, they would have given us a 10% discount. So we talked it over, and after 2 nights at the hotel, we had calmed down a little bit more, and so we decided to rebook with Airbnb. We ended up booking a place that was so much nicer than the first one. Even with the 10% that Airbnb had given us, we still needed to put in a little bit more of our own money in order to book this Airbnb. But after our initial experience, we were happy to pay for it.
And this new one's a humdinger. It's really nice. And the host is excellent. Andrew,
Yeah.
very nice bloke.
After we rebooked into our new Airbnb, we got a surprise email that said that Airbnb was refunding the entire amount. So that includes the original amount that we were going to pay. The 10% discount that they had given us to begin with was still covered by them. And then the extra money that we'd put in for this Airbnb. And so, in effect, we had 11 nights of free accommodations in Malaga, all paid for by Airbnb. The host's account was suspended, so all 14 properties and the account were deleted from Airbnb. After this experience, we've compiled a list of tips.
This is our list.
These are the things that we are going to do from now on when looking at Airbnbs. Number 1, never book a property that doesn't have any reviews. This property that we had booked had no reviews, and we booked it anyway because this host was a super host and she had 370 reviews in other properties.
Number 2, always book a super host. Now, that's not a guarantee that it's always going to be peaches. We actually did get a super host, but it didn't quite work out the way we expected. Having said that, you do minimize the risk.
Number 3, message the host before you book just to get a feel of who they are as a person. I didn't really have much time when I booked it. This was a spontaneous trip. If I had done that first before booking, I probably would not have booked.
Yeah. Number 4, after checking into an Airbnb, walk through the place. Make sure if you actually selected something with air conditioning, that it has air conditioning. It's your money, you've paid and bought for something. You are entitled to get what you paid for.
Tip number 5. If the Airbnb isn't as it was advertised, if it's not what you paid for, click on the link that we will put in the description below where you put in your number and they call you back. Now the thing is, if your issue has something to do with, the property not being exactly as it was advertised, you need to do that within the first 24 hours. After the 24 hours, you forfeit your chance for Airbnb to make it right. If it's a safety issue, you can still report this to Airbnb after the 24 hours. Actually, at any time during the trip, you can still report it. Tip number 6. Apparently in Spain, you do have to register an apartment with some sort of department. I'm not sure exactly what, but they should have a license number. Our Airbnb, the original Airbnb listing, did not have such a license number.
Don't go behind Airbnb. If you work with Airbnb, you actually have some sort of security, you have some insurance, you have some fallback. I think that's important for people to understand.
Despite the fact that we had a very, very bad experience with this Airbnb apartment, we actually had a very good experience with Airbnb, the company. We are pretty big users of Airbnb. We have actually used 14 different Airbnbs in the last 2 years, and some of those have been for more than a month. So we use it heavily. We were always big fans of the service. However, I think we've gone from being fans to being advocates because Airbnb handled this case amazingly.
Thumbs up from me. I was really impressed with Airbnb. Airbnb were great.
I would not hesitate to book an Airbnb again in the future. I do feel like if this happened, I feel pretty confident that Airbnb would have our back as they did in this case. I hope you've enjoyed listening to this horrible experience of ours. I hope you've learned something from it, and we will see you in the next vlog with hopefully happier things about Malaga. Don't forget to subscribe to join us in our travels.
Also, check out our Lucky Dippers podcast.